Ekhuruleni says it condemns the violence in the council chamber that occurred last week when EFF councillors and ANC councillors appeared to throw things at each other. The two parties were supposed to take part in a vote on whether to remove the mayor. The African Independence Congress's Sivuyile Ngodwana. The motion had been brought by Action SA, but previously both the ANC and the EFF have voted together in favour of Ngodwana. They've been working together in Ekhuruleni until last week. The chief whip of the ANC in Ekhuruleni is Jongiziwe Dlabati. Councillor Dlabati, good afternoon to you. We understand there should be a meeting of the council soon. It was originally, I think, scheduled for today. When that meeting happens, will you vote in favour of removing the mayor?
Well, thank you very much, Steve, for the opportunity. Certainly, the meeting was disrupted, and as a result, the multi-party would have said and agreed that we must engage the Speaker of Council for the resumption of the meeting. Unfortunately, the Speaker was ill, and of course, we had to allow her that opportunity to recover. The Speaker has since come back to Council today. We are expecting a formal response from the Office of the Speaker in view of the letter that I would have submitted to her, having been mandated by the multi-party. We have subsequently explored another provision in case there is no positive response on the side of the Speaker, wherein over 113 councillors have already signed a petition which is now before the Office of the Speaker in terms of our standing orders, compelling the Speaker to convene the council meeting so that the business of council can actually be completed, especially the outstanding motion, which is the motion against the executive mayor. As to what will happen with the motion, we will deal with it when we are in council. Safe to say that the African National Congress would have submitted certain proposed amendments into the motions, amendments of which are in line with the national framework of the African National Congress as adopted by the NEC.
Okay. Councillor Dlabati, I'm going to ask you to let me ask you directly, yes or no. Are you going to vote in favour of removing the mayor? Yes or no?
I'm saying to you, the motion is before council. The ANC, like any other political party, has the right to express itself in whatever way. What we have done, we have expressed ourselves in a form of an amendment into the motion, in line with the national framework of the African National Congress. As to what will ultimately happen in view of the discussion, unfortunately, that can only be heard in council when the council resumes.
Okay, I can see I can push you and I won't get any further. How would you describe your relationship with the EFF? After what happened last week, can you and the EFF still work together in Ekhuruleni?
We formed a collaborative government with the EFF, informed by the neglect of our townships in terms of service delivery by the then DA-led coalition. And it was very apparent that they are struggling to ensure the provision of sustainable basic services. We were very clear from the onset that any arrangement for us, it's not a mere arrangement of removing one party, but it should be a principal arrangement that is informed by our determination to build a better life for our communities. Having done an assessment of the state of the city as well as the performance of government, it was clear to us, against many attempts to try and alert our partners about certain situations. Firstly is that the financial position of the city has severely regressed and it is pushing us into a state of bankruptcy. Secondly, our responsiveness on basic service delivery issues, portfolios of which are largely held by EFF, water, energy, sanitation, we are found wanting. The people of Guatemala, for instance, they've been struggling with the transformer, problems of electricity interruptions for days. The people of Tembisa, waste has not been collected in a consistent manner, illegal dumping, ravaging and posing health hazard threats. The people of Katlehong, struggling with sewer spillages. We have been raising these things sharply as the African National Congress as part of political oversight. But if things are falling into deaf ears, the consequence of that is that the 70%, which is the 78 out of the 112 wards, which are led by the African National Congress, They are therefore suffering as a result of inefficient response on matters of basic services. And lastly, we have brought to the attention of the collaborative government that we will not accept anything that compromises good governance practices and how we maintain relationship with other institutions. For instance, it took us some time to have an understanding of what is happening with the Auditor General report, not being disclosed to us as to what is the status of that particular report, but more so, the attack into the office of the Auditor General South Africa by one of those that are in the collaborative government, as if it is the stance of the collective. We had to denounce that because it contravened that which we stand for as the ANC in terms of good governance practices. So the integrity and the credibility of the institution, its finances, and its ability to be predictable in providing sustainable basic services has been severely compromised. And we believe that we can no longer stay in a situation where the ANC will suffer collateral damage purely because we are not directly responsible about some of the portfolios that are core to the local government mandate.
Okay, so if I've understood you correctly, and you're saying you can't continue like this with the EFF, and Councillor, I have to bring it up, we all know about the letter that you sent to the ANC's provincial leadership and to the ANC's national leadership in July last year, where you said this relationship with the EFF was actually bad for the ANC. I mean, from what you say, you might well say, well, obviously you were correct to send that letter. But if you can't work with the EFF and you can't have a majority on your own, who can you work with?
Yeah, the point we are making as the ANC is that we can't work with a collaborative government, and that collaborative of political parties. And I don't think we must merely reduce it to the EFF. Certainly, I would have written a letter as empowered by the Constitution of the ANC 5.2 on the 26th of June. And all that I was raising, I was not saying it is bad. I said it's likely to be detrimental to the standing of the African National Congress. And I cited specific areas of concern. Firstly, that you are in an arrangement where there is no strategic value for the African National Congress. There is no way that the ANC that has 86 councillors in a council with 70% of its wards held by the African National Congress, and the ANC is not at the driving seat. The fact of the matter is that any collapse on service delivery, the ANC will have to account for that, because, for instance, the EFF does not have wards. And how do you allow a party that does not have wards to be in charge of key components of service delivery? That is abnormal. Secondly, I would have raised an issue that we should be careful of being in a collaborative government with political parties that are not committed to a coordinated way of doing things. Simple example, the mayoral committee does the Masisebenze service delivery coordination. The EFF simultaneously does something siyacimamanje. No coherence, no coordination. The budget gets to be approved without the ANC being properly involved, dragged at the tail end of the approval of the budget, a budget of which does not even accommodate a large number of the ANC ward priority needs. And thirdly, is the issue of hostility, political hostility. You can't be in a collaborative government with a party whose leadership organizes a march that says that the president of the ANC must fall. A leadership that undermines and insults the ANC leadership as and when they like it, including our own premier in Gauteng, who's doing very well, by the way, in trying to address the issue of unemployment, crime, energy. So those three areas are key to make a determination on which political party you can work with. Now, the ANC has been very clear in its national framework to say it will work with political parties who appreciates a proportional representation, and that the party with the most must lead, and the party that is committed to the sustainable provision of services and good governance for that matter.